Welcome to The Global Insight. In today's video, we are diving into a fascinating global transformation, the shift of power from west to east. We will investigate these undercurrents, uncovering the forces pushing the pendulum of power to the east. From the booming economies of China and India to the changing roles of global institutions and a forecast into the future landscape, we're exploring it all. But here's a twist. It's not just on the grand stage of geopolitics or economics. This shift is already weaving itself into the fabric of our daily lives. Have you ever considered where the smartphone you use every day is manufactured, or the growing presence of Eastern companies in your stock portfolios? How about the global rise of Eastern cultural influences, such as Bollywood and K-pop, or Eastern wellness practices? It's all part of this fascinating shift. Today, we'll explore the forces behind this transition and what it means for our future. And we have something super intriguing lined up for the end of the video discussing global trade, technology, climate change, and stability of the region, so make sure you stick around till the end. If you are interested in understanding the complex world of economy, geopolitics, business, and finance, in simple terms, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Also, hit the bell icon so you get notified of our new videos every week. Without further ado, let's set sail on this journey of discovery. Our world is experiencing a dramatic change, a power shift on a global scale. Western countries, which were the hub of power for centuries, are witnessing the rise of Eastern countries such as China, India, and other Southeast Asian nations. This shift is reshaping our world in ways we're just beginning to understand. Today we find ourselves in the middle of a dramatic transformation. We are witnessing a geopolitical power shift on a global scale, one of significant magnitude that's sure to shape the future of our world. For centuries, Western countries, principally Europe and the United States, have been the dominant powers. They've influenced global policies, controlled the world's largest economies, and have been at the forefront of technological innovations. But the tide seems to be turning. The 21st century has seen the meteoric rise of several countries in the East. China, in particular, is a notable player in this shift. According to the World Bank, China's GDP rose from $1.2 trillion in 2000 to over $15.4 trillion in 2020. This massive growth has propelled China to become the world's second-largest economy, trailing closely behind the United States. Then we have India. Despite facing numerous challenges, India's economy has shown considerable resilience and potential. According to a report from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, India is projected to outpace China in terms of GDP growth rate by 2022, making it one of the fastest-growing economies in the world. Other Southeast Asian nations are also emerging as significant economic players. Countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines are projected to be among the top 20 economies globally by 2050, as per a report by PwC. These developments in the East are not isolated economic phenomena. They're indicative of a larger, more comprehensive shift, which encompasses not just economic but also political, technological, and cultural domains. This shift is reshaping the world, and the contours of global power are being redrawn as we speak. As we dive deeper into this topic, it's essential to remember that these shifts are not occurring in a vacuum. They're influenced by a complex interplay of factors, and they, in turn, have far-reaching implications. In this series, we'll unpack these complexities and delve into the broader implications of this global power shift from west to east. This isn't the first time in history that power has shifted. Civilizations have risen and fallen, and power has changed hands over centuries. To understand the implications of our present shift, it's helpful to look at these historical shifts, the reasons behind them, and the world they created. To fully grasp the implications of the current shift in global power, we need to journey back in time and examine previous periods of power transition. Power dynamics have always been fluid throughout human history, with civilizations rising, commanding global influence, and then eventually declining. Let's begin with the Roman Empire, one of the most influential civilizations in history. At its peak in 117 AD, The Roman Empire controlled vast territories around the Mediterranean and beyond, with a GDP estimated to be around 25% of the world's total output. Rome's fall in 476 AD marked a massive shift in power, leading to what we now refer to as the Middle Ages. Fast forward to the 16th century, the Age of Discovery heralded the rise of Western European nations, particularly Spain and Portugal. Their explorations and subsequent colonial expansions shifted the power center to Western Europe. By the late 18th century, the Industrial Revolution propelled Great Britain to global dominance. At its peak, the British Empire was the largest empire in history, with an estimated 412 million people in 1920, nearly 23% of the world population at the time. The 20th century brought about another power shift. Post-World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as superpowers. This period, known as the Cold War era, saw the world divided into two major political and ideological blocs. With the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, the United States stood as the world's sole superpower. The American century, as some historians call it, saw the U.S. influencing global events on an unprecedented scale. Each of these power shifts was driven by a combination of factors such as economic growth, technological advancements, military might, and ideological influence. And each shift significantly reshaped the world's geopolitical landscape. Today, as we observe the rising influence of Eastern countries, we can't help but see history unfolding anew. However, this transition is happening in a world that is far more interconnected and complex than ever before. As we continue to explore this topic, we'll discuss what this means for our global future. The power shift from west to east is driven by various factors, but a key component is economic growth. The explosive economic expansion in the East, especially in countries like China and India, has propelled these nations onto the global stage, influencing world economy and politics. The global power shift from west to east is a complex process influenced by numerous factors. Today, let's delve deeper into the role that economic growth plays in this transition. It's important to note that economics and geopolitics are closely intertwined. The economic prowess of a nation often directly correlates with its geopolitical influence. For decades, the West, especially the United States, dominated the global economy. However, the past few years have seen a change. China, for example, has experienced an unprecedented level of economic growth. According to World Bank data, China's GDP in 1980 was $191 billion. By 2020, that number skyrocketed to over $15.4 trillion. That's an 80-fold increase in 40 years, a rate of economic growth unseen in human history. But it's not just the numbers. China's Belt and Road Initiative, an ambitious infrastructure development project spanning several countries, has significantly extended its economic influence, reshaping trade routes and fostering closer ties with various regions worldwide. Then there's India. Despite economic challenges, India has maintained steady growth and is projected to become the third largest economy by 2030, according to a report by the UK's Department for International Trade. India's demographic advantage, with over 65% of its population under the age of 35, coupled with digital revolution and economic reforms, are potential game changers in the global economic landscape. The story is similar in Southeast Asia. According to a McKinsey Global Institute report, Southeast Asia's combined GDP grew from $1.3 trillion in 2000 to $2.9 trillion in 2017. The region, boasting some of the world's fastest-growing economies, is becoming an increasingly important player in the global economy. These examples are emblematic of a broader trend of economic growth in the East. The resultant economic muscle is shifting the geopolitical balance, placing Eastern countries at the center of global decision-making processes and influencing international policies in ways that were unthinkable just a few decades ago. In subsequent episodes, we will also look at other drivers of this shift, such as technological advancements, demographic changes, and the evolution of political ideologies. For now, let's understand that economic growth is a crucial piece in the puzzle of this global power shift. This shift is also redefining the roles of international institutions. The United Nations, World Bank, and International Monetary Fund, traditionally dominated by Western powers, are having to adapt to a new balance of power. Let's discuss how these institutions are changing and the potential impacts of these changes. This global power shift from west to east is also significantly impacting international institutions. Bodies like the United Nations, World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, which have been traditionally dominated by Western powers, are finding themselves at the crossroads of a new balance of power. Take the United Nations, for example. For decades, the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, the United States, United Kingdom, France, Russia, and China, have held the most sway. However, there's been an increasing call for the reform of the Security Council, with countries like India, Brazil, Germany, and Japan, known as the G4 nations, seeking permanent membership. Why does this matter? Because it reflects a growing recognition that the world's power dynamics are changing, and our global institutions need to change with them to maintain their relevance and effectiveness. Similarly, the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, IMF, 2 key pillars of the global economic system, are also feeling the effects of this power shift. Traditionally, the World Bank has been led by an American, while the IMF has been headed by a European. However, the rise of Eastern economies is challenging this status quo. In 2010, the IMF enacted a reform to increase the representation of emerging economies, recognizing countries like China and India's growing economic stature. While these reforms have been slow and arguably inadequate, they represent a trend towards more equitable global governance. Another key development is the emergence of new international bodies spearheaded by Eastern powers. For example, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, led by China, is seen as a counterbalance to Western-dominated financial institutions. Since its formation in 2016, the AIIB has grown to include 103 approved members worldwide as of 2021. So, what does this all mean? It signifies that as power shifts, international institutions are being pushed to adapt and change. These transformations could lead to a more balanced global order that better reflects the world's economic and political realities. However, these changes are not without their challenges and controversies. As we continue to navigate this new landscape, it's vital to have nuanced, informed conversations about these shifts and what they mean for our collective future. So, what will our world look like in the face of this shift? While predicting the future is always tricky, we can anticipate some changes. We can expect a new world order, a transformed global landscape in politics, economy, technology, and culture. Given the ongoing shift of power from west to east, it's natural to wonder what the future holds. Although predicting the exact contours of the future is challenging, we can certainly make informed anticipations based on current trends. In the realm of politics, we may witness a more multipolar world where power is more evenly distributed across nations. For instance, the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, may hold more sway. These nations, representing about 42% of the world's population and roughly 23% of the world GDP as of 2020, have been steadily increasing their cooperation, both politically and economically. BRICS nations have set up the New Development Bank, an alternative to Western-dominated institutions like the World Bank and the IMF, underscoring the shifting balance of power. These countries are also advocating for a more equitable international order, further solidifying their collective influence. On the economic front, we can expect the East to continue its upward trajectory, with China, India, and other Southeast Asian countries becoming major players in the global economy. According to a report by PwC, by 2050, 6 of the 7 largest economies in the world could be today's emerging economies. Technologically, we're likely to see an evolution in the balance of innovation. As Eastern nations increase their investments in science and technology, areas like artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and green energy may see leadership originating from the East. In fact, China is already leading in areas such as 5G technology and AI research. Culturally, the shift could see Eastern philosophies and values playing a more prominent role globally. From Buddhism's mindfulness practices gaining traction in the West, to the global popularity of anime and K-pop, Eastern culture's influence is poised to grow. As we journey towards this new world order, there will be challenges and opportunities. It's essential for us to engage in open dialogues, to understand and navigate this shift, and to collaboratively shape a future that is equitable and sustainable for all. As we wrap up this video, remember that this shift is not about East versus West, but rather about creating a balanced world where power is more evenly distributed, and all nations have an equitable say in global affairs. In the next episodes, we'll dive deeper into specific aspects of this shift. We invite you to join us in this journey of understanding as we explore the dynamics of the new global landscape together.